So I've taken sort of a long, leisurely look at this poem because of what it's about, which is being at ease. So I thought it would be good to just, go through this slowly and gently. So, and this is a little different from what I usually do with Dharma talks. Um, but in honor of the tone of this poem, I thought it might be kind of fun and kind of relaxing. So go ahead and post it, Kate, so everybody can see it, and then we'll read it together again. So I'll announce it, and then we can read it together. Song of the Grass Roof Hermitage. I've built a grass hut where there's nothing of value. After eating, I relax and enjoy a nap. When it was completed, fresh weeds appeared. Now it's been lived in, covered by weeds. The person in the hut lives here calmly, not stuck to inside, outside, or in between. Places worldly people live, he doesn't live. Realms worldly people love, he doesn't love. Though the hut is small, it includes the entire world. In 10 square feet, an old man illumines forms and their nature. A Mahayana bodhisattva trusts without doubt. The middling and lowly can't help wondering, will this hut perish or not? Perishable or not, the original master is present, not dwelling south or north, east or west. Firmly based on steadiness, it can't be surpassed. A shining window below the green pines, jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. Just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. Thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand it all. Living here, he no longer works to get free. Who would proudly arrange seats trying to entice guests? Turn around the light to shine within, then just return. The vast, inconceivable source can't be faced or turned away from. Meet the ancestral teachers, be familiar with their instruction. Bind grasses to fill the hut, and don't give up. Let go of hundreds of years and relax completely. Open your hands and walk, innocence. Thousands of words, myriad interpretations, are only to free you from obstructions. If you want to know the undying person in the hut, don't separate from this skin bag here and now. So we're on the line, will this hut perish or not? And as this poem develops, and as I read it over and over again, I was starting to imagine Chitu relaxing after lunch, drifting off to sleep, and these ruminations sort of floating through his mind, wandering, and it's very relaxed. There's a kind of very relaxed, sleepy feeling almost. And the hut has become a metaphor for the self. And we have a sense of this wonderful moment of contentment and satisfaction. He's had lunch and he's content, and the mind is light and free, and the universe is contained therein. But then a little worry creeps in, the fear of death. The fear that all of this will go away, that this contentment will not last. And Chitu knows that a grass hut, like the body, is flimsy and will fall down someday. I can acknowledge, I can say the words, I know I'm going to die. And I can feel my fear, but I can't really imagine not being here, not having consciousness and awareness. I can't, that just doesn't make sense at a level to my brain, to this body's brain. It just doesn't compute. So for Zen, this question is always in front of us, what we call the great matter of birth, life, and death. What is going on here? what is the point? Does my life, where my selfhood is alive and aware, mean anything? And sometimes, occasionally, maybe in a moment of reverie like this poem, I can see the self, my own self, as impermanent, as a kind of flow among other flows, not a thing as such, but just change among change. And for a moment, I can accept impermanence and that I have never existed in the conventional sense. And I was that this whatever it is that I call I was never born and cannot die. And for a moment, I'm without fear. Maybe this is a moment of realizing emptiness. But then I snap right back into form, and there's nothing to do. But maybe with this momentary consciousness, to realize that there's nothing to do, as the commentator that I've been quoting, Connolly says, there's nothing to do but to practice intimately and to return to where you are. Those are actually his quotes of Dogen's words. Just taking refuge in the radical presence, the radical present, fully awake and aware, radically present, as Dogen says, an aspect of infinite transformation. I'm just an aspect of infinite transformation. We all are, and everything around us is. Everything that we call a thing is just an aspect of infinite transformation. And this is the path of seeing beyond birth and death. So then the next line is perishable or not, which of course it's both perishable and not perishable. The original master is present. And I think this strikes me as a kind of statement of faith. I may die, but there's somewhat that does not die. And it's the so-called original master that he's referring to. And this type of term is often used to refer to the Buddha, both the historical figure, Siddhartha Gautama, and the awakened mind, or Buddha nature, or the Dharmakaya, the unconceived, timeless, and infinite, what Thich Nhat Hanh calls interbeing. And in this sense, Buddha, or Buddhahood, is always with us, unseparated, and a constant refuge. So the original master is present, perishable or not. Not dwelling south or north, east or west, but always and everywhere. I think this line also refers to where the authentic teaching lies. And as we mentioned before, there were different schools of Zen and of Buddhism in the wider sense in China, and people saying this one is right, no, that one is right. The kind of sectarianism that we know about. So he's kind of also saying that the authentic teaching is not in this sect or that sect. It's not Zen or Vipassana. It's not San Francisco Zen Center or Spirit Rock, but everywhere at all times, although expressed differently. When I was serving as a hospice chaplain in a mostly Christian setting, I began to have the idea, trying to use the Christian vocabulary that God speaks to each person in the way that that person can hear. It's like that. This is what I think this line is talking about. Emptiness expressing itself in form, but not dwelling in only one particular form. And this is why Buddha is both form and emptiness, as each one of us is. The next line, firmly based in steadiness, it can't be surpassed. And then this is a quote from Connolly. I might die, but what I have is this moment, the steadiness of practice, of awareness, of presence. That is undying, completely without limit, completely trustworthy and steadfast, always right here. Awaken, awaken, do not waste your life. We have in our translation of the Bodhisattva vows, the last line says, Buddha's way, we say Buddha's way is unattainable. I vow to become it. But most common translations say, Buddha's way is unsurpassed. And but my former teacher, Grace, translated it as unattainable. And I appreciate that because it isn't a comparison, but it makes it seem boundless. The Buddha's way is boundless, and I vow to become that boundlessness, to be present within that boundlessness. A shining window below the green pines. She too, again, this is kind of she too in his reverie, drifting off to sleep and glancing around and maybe appreciating his surroundings. I sort of see him outside, maybe with a little shade over his head or something like that, and looking at the sky and the trees, and he notices the shining window of his little hut below and surrounded by green pines, perhaps. And he's relaxed and at ease and letting his mind run free. And he sees the window reflecting the afternoon sun, perhaps. And so, when I was reading this, I felt I could feel myself kind of there with him in my imagination. And it's not nothing special, just this moment, just this person and what he's experiencing. And his awareness is just shining in this moment. And then he says, jade palaces or vermilion towers can't compare with it. As if to say, who needs mansions and expensive cars and clothes when I have the incalculable preciousness of this moment in this little place. And here we are in this little storefront in Podunk, USA, and everything is with us. There's nothing lacking. My mother was an inveterate visitor of churches, and I inherited that habit and passed it on to my kids. And this passage makes me think of St. Peter's in Rome, which is enormous and full of all kinds of art. And all the other Renaissance churches I visited, so huge, vast, and ornate. And what's the difference between Bodhi Oak Zen Center and St. Peter's? And she too says there's nothing, there's no difference. In fact, he says, he does do a little comparison. He says, this is better, that my grass hut is better. I may not be king of the world, but I'm really fully this one, this person. Just this right now, and I don't need anything more. And Connolly quotes a koan from the Gateless Gate, which is a classic collection of Zen stories. And this is the quote. This is the story. A monk asked Yun Men, who was a Zen master, "What is Buddha?" And Yun Men says, "A dried shit stick." And so, and the point is that this place is Buddha just as much as San Francisco Zen Center or Eheji or Bodh Gaya even. No separation, no differences. One meaning, this is a quote from Connolly again, one meaning says Buddha is worthless. It's just an idea that you're stuck on. The other says that what you think of as worthless is actually Buddha, the most wondrous thing to which you should devote your life. The basic message underlying both is to let go of comparing and open your heart to everything. And continuing the quote, all human achievement can't compare with the simple practice of meditation and kindness. She too is using his own life of retreat into simplicity, away from the complications of monastic life, to study the self and to forget the self as the myriad dharmas arise. Just here I am, he says, just sitting with head covered, all things are at rest. And this is our practice, right? Just sit down, just pay attention. Just in this moment, be here. Just let go of trying to arrange things. Just breathe and rest in this, taking refuge right here and right now. And moving on, he says, thus, this mountain monk doesn't understand at all. There's a famous saying that I'm sure that you've heard is only don't know. Because we can't know in the sense of epistemology. With all our advanced degrees in professional experience, what we know and what we think we know is dust in the wind of universality and eternity. And so Zen says, stop thinking, only don't know, in order to merge with boundlessness. Because, as Connolly said, no matter how hard we try to figure out and arrange things, they will always go their own way. Our hut will fall down. Our suffering is just our disagreement with this uncertainty. It is the suffering of the dissonance, the enmity between what we think we know and what is. And I love that, the suffering of the dissonance, the enmity between what we think we know and what is. Living here, he no longer works to get free. And I think he's saying here, just relax into your practice. You don't really need to learn or do anything else. In the metta practice that I was taught, and I've taught here, there's one line that has always tripped me up a little, and it's the one that says, "May I live at ease." What does that mean? I haven't experienced that because I'm always busy. So what does it mean? Does it mean lying around on a chaise longue, sipping a G&T and eating chocolate? I probably not. It's not, that kind of black and white comparison. I think he's encouraging us to let go of our striving so hard, working to get free or to get freedom, to possess it, to corner it, to confine it. That's not free. He's free just as he is. And we're free just as we are, if we can just pay attention. This morning, I got a quote from Tricycle magazine, and it starts like this. I'm signed up for this particular daily quote, and this is it. A person, and it's from, I believe, one of the most basic sutras, and I don't remember which one it is. A person goes to the forest, or to the root of a tree, or to an empty place and sits down. Having crossed the legs, one sets the body erect. One establishes the presence of mindfulness. One is aware, ardent, fully aware, mindful. I am content.